Becky Lynch has defeated Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship to win the title for the first time in her illustrious WWE career. Details on that, plus Raw suffers the lowest total viewership number ever for a regular episode of Raw this past Monday. Details as to why that was against strong NFL competition. Triple H and Nick Khan are set for major bonuses after the Endeavor takeover of WWE is now complete. An update on how Nia Jax is listed internally after her Raw return this past week. Ilya Dragunov is the new number one contender for the NXT Championship, set to challenge for the title at NXT No Mercy. We've got a medical update on Von Wagner after the ending of NXT last week. Bron Breaker and Baron Corbin is set for NXT No Mercy's premium live event as well. The NXT Women's Breakout Tournament is set to return. An update on Impact Wrestling 1000 being a 2-night event, plus a champion versus championship match has been announced for next week's episode of NXT. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off. We've got a brand new NXT Women's Champion, and now two of the championships on the NXT brand are held by main roster stars, because Becky Lynch has won the NXT Women's Championship for the first time in her career. Becky Lynch is one of the most decorated champions in WWE history, but last night on NXT, she finally captured the one title that has eluded her. Upon her return to NXT, Lynch was warmly welcomed by a sea of cheers from the WWE Universe. Once Tiffany Stratton appeared, Lynch shifted her focus to the prize at stake, the NXT Women's Championship. Heading into her title defense, Stratton asserted herself as the fastest rising star within WWE right now. Unfortunately for Stratton, that wasn't enough to defeat the man. In a competitive closing contest, Stratton did her best to throw Lynch off her game, twice countering Lynch's signature manhandle slam. In Lynch's second attempt, Stratton reversed it into a roll-up. Lynch quickly bounced back, though, evading Stratton's third attempt at landing the prettiest moonsault ever. In response, Lynch successfully nailed Stratton with a manhandle slam to secure the pinfall and her first ever reign as NXT Women's Champion. With this win, Lynch is now also a Grand Slam champion, having already won the Raw Women's Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship, and the Women's Tag Team Championships. Naturally, Lynch was ecstatic upon winning the title. Stratton, on the other hand, is now faced with the reality of her reign as champion ending at 108 days. So what are your thoughts on Becky Lynch winning the championship? What do you think this will do for the ratings for NXT? What are your thoughts on more main roster stars holding NXT titles? Let me know your thoughts about that. Was this the right move? Was this the right outcome? Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Now, Raw took a big hit in the ratings this week when it comes to stiff competition on Monday nights. This is always the case as we head into the fall. With the opening night of Monday Night Football doing record numbers, Raw took a beating on Monday. The Buffalo Bills versus New York Jets game went into overtime and did, check this out, 22,615,000 viewers between ESPN, ABC, and ESPN2. It was the second largest Monday Night Football audience in years. Raw took the hit, drawing the lowest total viewership number in the show's nearly 31-year history for a regular episode on USA Network, with 1.35 million viewers and a 0.40 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. The only Raw episode ever to do a lower viewership number was a best-of show, hence not being considered a regular show. The 0.40 would be Raw's second lowest rating of the year. The football number is the complete explanation for the huge drop, although the episode did have no big hook as far as a huge main event, since Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez was the only big match announced ahead of time. It wasn't coming off a pay-per-view or anything like that. Raw was down 21% from last week in viewers, down 22% in the 18 to 49, and down 26% in the 18 to 34. From last year, Raw was down 21% in viewers for the 2022 Monday Night Football opener, which did 19.76 million viewers. It was down 8% in the 18 to 49 and down 22% in the 18 to 34. Factoring in that cable lost homes, the real percentage drops would be about 16% in viewers, a 1% increase in 18 to 49 and a 14% drop in 18 to 34. The third hour drop was not any different from a usual week, but the 1.25 million audience for the main event was the lowest in the history of the show. So what are your thoughts on these ratings? Is it really anything to panic about, or is it just a case of Monday Night Football did massive numbers and Raw was always going to take the hit here? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section below. Yesterday was a huge day for WWE and UFC and Endeavor as TKO Group Holdings was formed, with WWE and UFC being merged together. And Triple H and Nick Khan have received big bonuses following the WWE and UFC merger. On September 12, Endeavor officially announced the merger of WWE and UFC under the launch of TKO Group Holdings. The new company opened on Wall Street as well. As part of the WWE and UFC merger being finalized, WWE executives will be given big bonuses. WWE President Nick Khan will receive $15 million, while Executive Vice President Kevin Dunn receives $7 million. WWE Chief Content Officer Triple H, Paul Levesque, and WWE CFO Frank Riddick each receive $5 million. The stock price for the new TKO Group Holdings opened at $102 a share and closed at $103.05. The high for the day was $103.81. The new TKO corporate website has also now officially launched, which can be checked out online. And yes, big bonuses for Triple H and Nick Khan. What are your thoughts on that as well? Now, speaking of Raw, it saw the return of Nia Jax to WWE on a full-time basis for the first time since 2021, and a new report has provided an update on her following her Raw return. On the September 11 edition of Raw, Nia Jax made her return by interfering in the Rhea Ripley vs. Raquel Rodriguez Women's World Championship main event. After laying out both women to stand tall at the end of the night, many had questioned what the plans would be for the former Raw Women's Champion following her return. Per WrestleVotes, Nia Jax is being positioned as the number 2 heel on the female side of the Raw roster. The tweet reads, quote, "Following her return to Raw last night, Nia Jax is being positioned as the number 2 heel on the female side of the Raw roster. She overtakes Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark. This seems to indicate that Ripley is currently the number 1 heel on the female side of things, despite her showdown with Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's Championship, and is now the brand new NXT Women's Champion. It's safe to assume that Becky Lynch is still being positioned as the number 1 female babyface at this time on the Red brand." Now, it's led to a lot of discourse, hasn't it, Nia Jax's return to WWE? There were some polarizing comments from various fans who were not pleased to see Jax make her comeback. The WrestleFeatures Twitter account asked fans if bringing back Nia Jax was the right move. This led to former WWE Women's Champion Asuka taking to social media to respond to the tweet and call out bullying towards Jax. She wrote the following, you can see it on the screen right now. "The question is rude and bullying. You're hurting her heart with this question. Are you really a person with a heart? If someone who has not been directly harmed by her denies her, I will fight society for her. If I'm criticized for it, I don't care." What are your thoughts on Asuka's tweet there? Are people criticizing her return bullying Nia Jax, or is it all overblown? Let me know your thoughts about that. Now, steering back to NXT, we have a number 1 contender for the NXT Championship, that being Ilya Dragunov. NXT champion Carmelo Hayes is not done with Ilya Dragunov. On the latest edition of NXT, Dragunov hit Wesley with a dive-in forearm to the back of the head and punched his ticket to the No Mercy PLE, where Dragunov will face NXT champion Carmelo Hayes once again after coming up short at the Great American Bash at the end of July. No Mercy is set to take place on September 30 in Bakersfield, California's Mechanics Bank Arena. Dragunov spent much of August getting revenge on Hayes' associate Trick Williams, who played seemingly an inadvertent role in costing Dragunov the title at the Bash, finally defeating Williams at Heatwave. Lee had been hoping to advance to No Mercy and avenge his loss to Hayes at NXT Heatwave, but came up short in the bout. Later in the episode, he suggested that he was quitting NXT after his loss, kind of emptying his locker. So do you think Wesley is done? Do you think we're still going to be getting a triple threat match? There is still time. Where do you think this one is going to go? Let me know your thoughts about that. We also have an update on Von Wagner after the closing of last week's episode of NXT. Certainly got a lot of people talking about what was real and what wasn't real. WWE has provided an update on the medical status of Von Wagner after he was stretchered away from ringside after a spot on last week's show. While there have been reports regarding the authenticity of the actual concern for the health of Von Wagner after Bron Breakker struck him in the head with steel steps over the past 7 days, there was crowd-leaked footage that echoed concern that was then reported as genuine, as there was reportedly panic backstage at the spot, which was intended to be frightening, but not for the WWE staff and officials. Well, it was later revealed that everything is fine. But last night on NXT, a medical update on Von Wagner after he was taken away from last week's main event on a stretcher, appearing to be bleeding from the head. According to a statement read by Vic Joseph on commentary, Von Wagner was evaluated and diagnosed with a minor skull fracture, and no timetable has been set for his recovery following last week's attack by Bron Breakker. He also specified that he would continue to be followed by specialists and WWE doctors. In an in-ring segment afterwards, Baron Corbin shared his thoughts on the attack, which led to a face-to-face showdown with Bron Breakker. We'll get to that in just a second, but what are your thoughts on this storyline? Is this one of the better things that NXT has going right now? What are your thoughts on what will happen when Von Wagner returns? Let me know your thoughts about that as always. Now, I spoke about the reaction to it and the person culpable, Bron Breakker, and also Baron Corbin, who was on commentary for the match last week as well. Following his no disqualification match against Von Wagner on last week's episode of NXT, Bron Breakker now turns his attention to Baron Corbin, whom he will face at NXT No Mercy on September 30. During Tuesday's episode of NXT, Baron Corbin appeared to share his thoughts on Breakker's brutal post-match assault on Wagner, which resulted in Breakker ramming the ringside steps into the back of Wagner's head. As a result of the action, NXT commentator Vic Joseph announced that Wagner had sustained a minor skull fracture. While Corbin initially seemed disgusted by Breakker's attack on Wagner, he later revealed a smile, touting the post-match events as freaking awesome, which promoted Breakker to approach him in the ring. Upon his arrival, however, Breakker asserted that his actions weren't intended to gain Corbin's approval, but rather simply an attempt to end Wagner's wrestling career. In response, Corbin reminded Breakker of some of his own impressive accomplishments, including his own career-ending victory over WWE Hall of Famer Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 35. After Corbin suggested Breakker should desire his respect, Breakker said that he didn't need it or want it. Breakker subsequently challenged Corbin to a match at No Mercy, promising to destroy Corbin in the same fashion he destroyed Wagner last week. Corbin, the veteran in this instance, told Breakker he had a lot to learn still and slapped him in the face. As the two began to brawl in the ring, security then rushed down to pull them apart. So that match is set for No Mercy as well. Now, we spoke about the NXT Women's Championship. Of course, we now have a big tournament. The NXT Women's Breakout Tournament is coming soon. It was announced last night on NXT. The up-and-coming women of NXT are getting another chance to make their mark on the developmental brand. On this week's edition of NXT, WWE announced there will be another NXT Women's Breakout Tournament at some point in the future. Details are currently quite few and far between, but WWE aired a graphic during the program that said the tournament is coming soon. Last year's NXT Women's Breakout Tournament saw Roxanne Perez defeat the former NXT Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton in the final. It's entirely possible that Becky Lynch, now being the new NXT Women's Champion, could defend her title against the winner of the tournament if past tournaments are any indication. The stakes for this year's tournament have not been revealed right now, so certainly that could be what happens in the future. Becky Lynch could be defending her title against the winner of the Breakout Tournament. Now let's switch gears here and talk about Impact Wrestling, of course Impact 1000, and it has been announced that it's going to be a two-night event. Impact Wrestling will be celebrating a special milestone with this week's September 14 edition that will mark their 1000th show in company history. The company have been promoting a stacked lineup for the episode over the past few weeks, but now they have announced that will make it even more special. On September 12, the promotion announced that Impact 1000 will be a huge two-night event over the course of the next 2 episodes on Access TV. The show will feature the reunion of Bully Ray and Devon of Team 3D, and Alex Shelley will defend the Impact World Championship against Trey Miguel. Meanwhile, Leo Rush will defend the Impact X Division Championship against Chris Sabin, and a huge 10 knockouts tag team match featuring the returns of Awesome Kong and Gail Kim. Of course, if we get any more updates on Impact 1000, we'll let you know in a future video. Finally, next week's episode of NXT's got a big champion versus champion match. After a backstage interaction on last night's episode of NXT, between two champions, a match has been set. With Carmelo Hayes and Dirty Dominic Mysterio bumping into one another backstage at the Performance Center, they exchanged some words. When Melo suggested the pair settle it in the ring, Dirty Dom, of course, had to specify that he was willing, but he needed to check with Mammy first. Well, it seems Mammy Rhea Ripley gave her blessing, as shortly thereafter on last night's show, the match for next week was made official. Also scheduled for next week's edition of NXT, the reveal of a makeover that was teased on last night's show is expected, as well as a huge matchup featuring Tyler Bate taking on Butch in another match in the NXT Global Heritage Invitational Tournament. So there you go, guys. That's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.